that's it. There's a song. Mr. Service was the new minister that had just come to Fletcher United Church. And he also had Ceylon Church. And I had never met him, nor my wife. We had yet never met him. But he come to Ceylon, and he said he wanted to get up a play for between Christmas and New Year's in the United Church in Fletcher. And he wanted the characters from out that way so that the people of Fletcher wouldn't know them. So he was trying to get different ones, and some said yes, they'll help. But there was this one particular job in the play, and that was the innkeeper that wouldn't take Mary and Joseph into the inn when they came. And they wanted to get us somebody that would take that, the innkeeper. So they told him to go up to our line and go in and say me, if I would take it, that I could take it. So my wife had the club members in that afternoon when he came to the door, and she invited them in and introduced them to all the ladies, and he stayed for some of the meeting, and he asked her to come to Ceylon Wednesday night next week, because we're going to organize this if you will take part in it. Well, she said she'd ask her husband when he come home. So I thought it was kind of nervy to just step in and ask for something like that, and I said, I'll just be a brave, yes, we'll go. And so I fell in. She and I was the innkeeper, and she was the wife. And I think it was maybe one of the best plays that ever was in Fletcher. And the church was full to capacity. And it was as quiet as could be, because they were partly scared, the children that was in it. And Mary and Joseph was the best, almost identical to Mary and Joseph. And then there was the prophets and the shepherds and so on, and they were weird looking people. But I had to come out at the last and finish, which was a difficult one. When it was all over, it was 2 hours, I realized who had come, and I didn't receive them this day, that the Prince of Peace had arrived, and I had room for him and wouldn't take him in the inn or the hotel, whatever you want to call it. So I come out at the last of the stage and said, oh my God, he came and I did not receive him. He was born in a manger while I kept an empty room. I never got a chance to be an athlete or anything like that. time much. The first time I got out from school was when we had the school fair. And it was in Markdale, and there was a race for the boys. So of course I went in the races, and I won first prize for the races. So you see, I could run, but for games, well, we called it a football game then, but now they call it soccer. I was a football player, and we played at Priceville and some towns from out of school. So we were really pretty tough guys, you know. Now, that's about all, but the rest of the family did run quite a number of races. But that's about the only time that I got a chance to run. So, I must tell you about, I've lived alone now for around about 10 years, and it was pretty tough at the beginning because I never used to being in the house because of the road work and the farming. I was generally outside. But finally, I got kind of used to it when I came to town to live. I would sit at the big window and watch the children in the morning going in the bus to school. And I liked to watch them. Sometimes as many as 9 buses would go by. Probably a rainy morning, you know, and I did love to see the children in the bus going to school. And I like living in Flesherton. I like the merchants. I'm close to the bank, I'm close to the post office, and I'm close to the store. And I like the merchants of Flesherton. I don't know any other town that I would rather probably live in. Well, I've only 2 or 3 steps to go to the bank or the store or the post office. So I like that part of it. And one time in 1947, my mother-in-law come to visit us at the farm. And she took suddenly sick and passed away. And the snow was terrible deep, and the weather was bad. And I think we had the doctor, he come by snowplane to the farm. But at any rate, when she passed away, we had to go to Wingham, to the burial there, you see, because that's her hometown, you see. And it's such a roundabout to go that we had to get somebody with a car to take us on the highway. And the road was terrible. And Wallace Hamilton agreed to take us if the weather settled down that night and we had to go the day before. So we went the day before and we got there, but the road was getting pretty narrow. And so I always have to make decisions. And there was a lot of people came from Toronto by train and other places. And so after they said to me, there's 2 funerals in town today, which do you want, yours first or second? I said I want it first. And so, right after around 1 o'clock, we had to go to town to the cemetery. And I didn't think when we got out of town a bit that the weather was very good, because I could see the snow rolling. But anyway, we come back into my wife's aunt's house, a very lovely lady. And all the crowd was there, a big house. And they were talking and having lunch, and after a while I walked out to see what the weather was doing. And when I came back in, I met Wallace Hamilton. And I said to him, I think we ought to start. He said, I do too, but you'll have to break the decision in there, you know. So I said, okay. So finally I went in and talked a little one around and said, well, I guess we'll have to go. Oh, what's your hurry? We're not going home till tomorrow. Well, we have to be home because the barn is full of stock and the roads are bad. So finally we got started. And when we got to Durham, it was dark and the road was closed to Ceylon. So Wallace Hamilton wanted to go to Chatsworth and come down number 10. But I was kind of afraid that we might get stuck out in the country, and if we have to stay, we can stop at the hotel in Durham. And if the worst comes to the worst, I can walk from Durham home to the farm. But anyway, he insisted that we go to Chatsworth, so we started. And of course the roads were not good. And just coming into Chatsworth, a hind tire went flat. And he got out. How are we ever going to jack this car up in this snow? And I said, I'll do the jacking. So I got a big round rail off the fence and put under the axle at the back. I said, when you're ready to take the wheel off, let me know. And up goes the car, and we changed the tire, and we come down to Flesherton, and he went in home, and I went in with him, and I called them at home and said we were at Flesherton and we were going to Ceylon. There was a track through to Ceylon, and that's all. And the team and sleigh come to meet us. So Mr. Hampel took us in, of course, to his house. He lived at the back, and I thought the team was a long time coming, so I went to meet them. And the man never saw me. It was that stormy. And anyway, he said, you take the lines, you can see better than me. And we got home. Okay. And 2 solid weeks, we never left the home. Because the people didn't call me about the roads, because the highways were all blocked and you couldn't get to a town. Finally, we were all right. We had sugar and flour and meat and milk and butter at home. And we had a coal furnace and lots of coal. So we didn't require anything, and that's the best holiday I think maybe I ever had, because I just helped with the chores and got a special rest from the world, let's say. So anyway, some of them got short of feet, and the road was desperate because nobody had been out on it, and there was one place on our road, it wasn't as bad as the highway because it wasn't plowed out, you see. But there was this one place that there was no bottom to it at all, you think, and nobody would go on it. I said, I will break that road with the team, and then you can get out if you come. Will you follow me if I go through first? So they said yes. They had to get out. So it took me quite a while to go through this deep place because the horses had nothing under their feet and they were just like swimming. But finally we got through it, straight through, and I went right out to the corner at Sinkler's Corner and broke the road across the highway to Sinkler's. And Sinkler's had opened a road in the fields behind their place to the south. And the snow wasn't very deep in the field. So the track was all ready, and they come in at the back of Hempel's store. In 1922, I was farming, of course, with my dad, and we were thrashing, and the barn took fire, and everything was burnt. Hay, rain, and everything. And it even burnt the trees in the orchard. Harness, some machinery, grain, hay, and our finances was not very good, but we had some insurance, but not nearly enough. So things were pretty tough. All we had was a house to live in, and we had to work hard to save it. So anyway, Father says it's too good a farm to not have a barn on. And we decided to build a new barn. And we had quite a lot of bush left. People didn't think we had timber, but we did. And I went to the bush and cut the timber with the framer and another man for the new barn, and I skidded the timber and hauled it home to the yard because they were so scattered in the bush to huge squares. So we had to haul feed, and I bought a frame barn from a neighbor and made a stable for the horses and 3 cows, which worked out all right. And there was a colt that nobody would buy. Nobody was buying anything except pigs or cattle. And one day Father was away, and I sold all the pigs and sold all the cattle but these cows. And when we got the new barn built the next year, and the stables and everything, Father went out and bought 8 young cows. And they never were tied. So I had put a row of stanchions in the stable, and we put the feed in and got them put their heads in the stanchions and locked them in it. And we didn't let them out of there for a long time till they quieted down. So that was our start in the new year. And sometime later on, there was a man came from Meaford. His name was Jim Pilgrim. And they were racing horses. He had a horse race to race. And father was always interested in horse racing. So they got to be friends, and he came out to the farm, and I traded this colt on a Model T Ford car. And he came up from Meaford on Sunday and took me home with him and took me to his home. And I stayed overnight, and I left the next day with the new car. It wasn't new. It was new to me. And they came to the top of the hill, so I'd make sure to get up this big hill out of Meaford. But I always thought on the way home that the people didn't give me enough road when I met them, you know. And so that was my first car. Sometime later on, we used to come to town to shop on Saturday night. So I came out this Saturday night, and McTavish's had just got in a new, beautiful blue coupe car with wire wheels, 6-cylinder. And oh, I was just crazy about it. And I looked at it, and I went out, and I come back again to have a second look. And George McTavish said, "Take it home with you." I said, "I haven't got the money." He said, "We'll finance it." And I gave him $680, I was to give him, and the old car for the new one. And that was the greatest car I ever owned. It was a dandy. One of the best on the road at that particular time, till the new V8 Ford come out. And of course it didn't quite compete with them. But anyway, that's the car that I first met my wife, that I drove, and it was something to have a car like that. And of course nobody knew that I financed it, I guess. But I finally got it paid for in 3 payments after that. And so from there on, I bought General Motors. And I've had several cars. And I bought my sister came to live on a farm, retire, and one of them had a husband and the other was gone. And they had no car or couldn't drive, so I used to have to take them, and the one-seater didn't work out good. So I traded it for a 47 two-seated car, and we drove it for about 4 years. I never liked it just as well as the first one. And George McTavish said he got in the first automatic transmission car. He wanted to sell me this car. That's what you should have. But nobody would, well, not nobody, but quite a few people wouldn't buy them, you know, till they know how they were going to work out. And they drove different, no changing of gears. So anyway, he said, "I'll give you all the money you paid for that 47 car to buy this." Well, I thought that was a pretty good deal, but the new car was more money. So I had to pay him some money besides. And I bought the first automatic transmission car that come to Flushing. And I always bought those after. Of course, everybody started buying them. And that's what we have today. So after getting married with the first Chev car, my wife and I lived for about 4 or 5 years on the farm, and she was a town girl and used to electricity. And of course I never thought nothing about it. The old lantern and going around the barn, you know, and the stables. And she said, why can't we have electricity? And I said, well, I don't know. And of course I wasn't so interested. I'm used to this old lantern, you see. But anyway, we wrote to a man in Shelburne, and up he came. And we got signers for enough. You had to have so many people on your line for, and we got enough signers for the hydro. And we got the hydro in 47. Well, you know, our finances was better then. We got a refrigerator, an electric stove, a radio, and I think the next year a television. But the only station we could get was Kitchener, because Wingham hadn't come on yet, and Kitchener was the closest station. Now there was nobody in the country had television, but Ruth wanted it, our Ruth wanted it, and of course the mother wanted it, and so we got it, but that's all the station we could get was Kitchener. But my wife enjoyed the hockey matches and watching Whippoorwill Watson fight, you know, and she was always for him. And so they had television, some of them in Flesherton, but they had interference that we didn't have out in the country. So we had the best television out in the country. Now, those were some of the things that took place. And the last was we have the greatest people in Flesherton, and we have what you call the drop-in for the seniors, and that's once a week. So I want to sing the song I like to sing. You're leaving now, my tender care. Remember, child, your mother's prayer. Whene'er I think of her so dear, I feel her presence very near. A voice comes floating on the air, reminding me of mother's prayer. I see her by her old armchair, my mother dear, in humble prayer.